Stop here. There's no need to search any further. I guarantee you're going to run a ton of miles in the new Asics Novablast 4. It's the best daily trainer to kick off the year. Let me repeat that. The Novablast 4 is the best daily trainer currently on the market. Some of you said similar things when version 3 came out last year. That one had a lively midsole that was energetic, responsive, and extremely versatile. All around, it seemed like a really fun shoe. So much fun that when version 4 was released, many of you were thinking, how can Asics improve on an already stellar shoe? There was really only one legit complaint out there, and that was the outsole, that it could have had a bit more grip. Well, spoiler alert, they addressed that in version 4. Despite all that hype, I'll be honest, I never got a chance to try that version. So when I heard that version 4 was available, I pounced on it like that Ice Age squirrel chasing after the last acorn on Earth. And am I glad I did? It's everything I heard and more. The number one reason is this foam that makes up the midsole. It's been a while since I tested a pair of shoes that brought a smile to my face from the get-go. I mean, like, wow. It's made of the Asics Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, and there's a lot of it. 41 millimeters in the heel that starts an 8 millimeter drop. I'm familiar with this variation of foam because it's used in my favorite stability shoe, the Gel Kayano 30. It's light and soft underfoot, and it really feels like it's cradling the impact. It's not a harsh bounce in return. This foam has a lot more finesse, kind of like you're landing on hydraulics, if that makes sense. But when I was testing out the Kayano, I never realized the full potential of this foam. The Novablast right out of the box felt like there was something special. Those of you who have tried version 3 know what it is. I'm convinced it has something to do with how they designed the underside of this midsole, which produces what Asics calls their trampoline effect. If you don't like shoes with a carbon plate, you don't need one. This here feels like the closest thing to it without using one. But that's not doing it complete justice. Although it resembles a carbon plated shoe, the effect is unique and unmistakable. It truly is a great design. Can you tell I love this shoe? Let's get back to the trampoline effect. From what I can tell, it's been created by how the midsole has been cut out. You can see that instead of being a flat surface, portions of the foam have been removed to follow the outline of the shoe. What that does is it allows the impact of your foot strike to sink toward the middle, like this. Kind of like an octopus, no? Anyway, there's a second design element, and that's this center chunk of foam right here. Without this important piece, your foot would sink all the way to the ground because there'd be nothing there to support it. In most instances, you can get away with it by adding a stiffening element like a plate. Asics got around that by adding this structural piece of foam here in the center. It still allows for the trampoline effect, but this part right here prevents the midsole from collapsing entirely. Just as your foot hits the lowest point, that center piece of foam catches that downward force and springs your foot back up, aiding the rest of the midsole to spring your foot forward. It's really a clever design if you think about it. It also makes it one of the most fun shoes I've ever tested. And unlike what a lot of shoe companies say that their foam feels like this or like that, you really do feel that bouncy ride with each step. Actually, I think bounding would be a better way to describe the kind of run you'll be doing in the Novablast. All this allows the shoe to perform really well at all different paces. Easy feels fun, workouts feel good, strides and repeats feel good. There's plenty of foam for the long runs. In fact, you could probably run a marathon in these. I've yet to run a marathon in any shoe, but this year I'm gonna make it happen, and this is gonna be a big part of it. Now maybe you might be thinking you'll only feel the trampoline effect if you're a mid to forefoot striker. What about if you're a heel striker? Well, these days I've been trying to run more efficiently, and in order to do that, I've been incorporating a higher heel flick so that I can land a bit more on the midfoot. The whole point is, even when I do land on my heel, I notice the trampoline effect. You can see on the bottom that the foam is also cut out. The foam on the outside is a bit higher around the heel, so I wouldn't worry that you won't get the full potential of the shoe based on how you run. It's also nearly 42 millimeters of stack in the heel, so I think this shoe will work well for everyone. Now, I'm aware that people have said this new Eco version is a little bit less responsive than version 3 because they use recycled materials. That may be true, but if you're like me and missed the previous version, ignorance is bliss. There's some things in life that are just better not knowing. Like how much you owe on taxes. That's what accountants are for, right? I always say you have to leave the past where it is if you want to move forward. Look, ask yourself this. Would you trade what you lose with the Eco foam for a less sticky outsole? Maybe you would, but Asics addressed that issue. The Novablast 4 uses AHAR low. The lower density allows for better grip. Still, watch out for wet metal surfaces. The incredible thing is that it seems more durable even though it's gotten softer, or maybe my mechanics have just gotten better, because I see almost no wear on the outer edges of my heel, which is usually the first thing to go. Even this engineered upper is supposed to be softer and stretches more than version 3. I think it has a really good step-in feel. It's super comfortable. The gusseted tongue has a little bit of padding, nothing overtly plush, but more than sufficient. It rests comfortably on your foot and stays put. In general, I love Asics uppers. They always fit well and run true to size. There's never too much room in the toe box, but just enough to get a good comfortable lockdown. So for those of you with wider feet, might want to go with the wider sizing. My favorite part of the upper though is the shiny fabric right here around the ankle and heel collar. It's really silky to the touch and there's a lot of padding. This is the one fancy part of the shoe. It's all in the details, like the tips of the shoelaces. Nice touch. I can't really speak to the breathability of the upper though. I run in Southern California, so most shoes, unless they're made of race day material, usually aren't too breathable. The silver lining though is that the breathability, or lack of it, keeps my feet warm during the 1 or 2 weeks of cold weather. I have a feeling that from about March to October, this shoe is going to be barely tolerable. So thank goodness it released when it did. And for those of you who aren't as fortunate with the weather, my advice, pick this up now so you can enjoy the warmth even longer. The Novablast 4 is an amazing daily trainer. I can't say it enough. And as of now, this is going to be the bar for all the shoes coming out in the year. Ride or run, let's get it done.